Greetings gamers and welcome to the fourth boss of Shrine of the Storm. Before we get into this boss proper, I just want to give a quick word of warning about raid target icons. The convention is skull, cross, square. Get it wrong when you see what kind of a moon mess happens. Of course the DPS is going to open up on the skull. And with that rookie mistake, I officially throw my hat into the ring for being elected King of Noobtown. But this does give me the opportunity to introduce a few of the major players in this fight. Meet the terrible trio, two Mindbender octopus squid-like mobs, which are called Forgotten Denizens. Now these guys don't mind control you, but what they do is do some group-wide damage that self-heals, so it's really good to interrupt them wherever possible. The Shah-like creature is called a Sunken Denizen, and this guy hits like a truck but moves slowly, so if your health is getting a bit low, you can always just walk away from him and just kite him around to give the healer time to heal you up. So tanks, you want to be picking up the aggro on the Sunken Denizen, and DPS, you want to be interrupting the Forgotten Denizens as much as possible. Now Vol'zith the Whisperer is an aberration dwelling at the heart of Shrine of the Storm, known as the Shrine of Shadows. It's pretty clear where he gets his name from. If I had to live in a dank cave all the time, I'd have permanent laryngitis too. Acting on behalf of Queen Azara, the end game is still not clear, but the plans seem to have something to do with corrupting the Tide Sages and appropriating the Kultiran fleet. Whatever the end game is though, we're here to stop it, because we're trying to save Kultiras, and because we want to stop the old gods, but mainly because we want the epics. Now this guy periodically casts whispers of power on players, starting with the healer, and this is a fairly complicated mechanic, so I think it's worthy of deeper analysis. So let's have a look at this from the point of view of the healer. Now this magic debuff doesn't do any damage, but it limits the amount of healing you can receive by 10% of your maximum health per stack. So with one stack you can't be healed above 90% of your maximum health. With 9 stacks you can't be healed above 10% of your maximum health. Now before you rush off to dispel this debuff, it also increases your character's damage and healing by 20% per stack. So at 9 stacks you've got 180% more healing and damage, making you a glass cannon. Just don't let it stack too high, you're no good to anybody dead. Now this magic debuff can be dispelled by any priest, a holy or ret pally, mistweaver monk, resto druid, resto shaman and a warlock's pet. Vol'zith the Whisperer has a resource bar which slowly fills up during the fight. When the bar is full, he casts Grasp of the Sunken City, which puts all players in an underwater realm, adding a time limit to the fight. The DPS are put into a different phase to the tank and healer. The only way out is to defeat the adds in your particular phase, at which point you'll be teleported into your party member's phase. So if the tank and healer defeat their adds first, they will join the DPS, and if the DPS defeat their adds first, they will join the tank and healer. Each phase is designed for the people who are put in it. The tank and healer get to take down a single Sunken Denizen that does uber damage but moves slowly, If the tank's health gets low, the tank can kite it around until the healer has had a chance to top it up. The DPS get 2 forgotten denizens, which need to be burned down quickly and interrupted. So this acts as a bit of a DPS check. If you can't burn down all of the ads to get back onto the boss before your breath bar runs out, you will drown. The next move is called Yawning Gate, which deals shadow damage over time and silences everybody standing in the void zone. Tanks try to have the boss in one area of the room, and every time he casts Yawning Gate, try to position him so that the puddles occupy a small region. However, if it comes to a choice between stacking the void zones and standing in them yourself, try to avoid standing in them for any length of time, or your healer will shout at you. These things do hurt after a while. Aside from that, try to look out for those tentacles if you can. They don't do that much damage, but it's still a good idea to avoid being hit by them because it puts less strain on your healer's mana pool. It's too far away. Now with regard to these sunken denizens, the ones that look like shards, tanks try to pick them up as quickly as possible, and healers try to stay out of their way. The healer especially is likely to have several stacks of whispers of power, and that will greatly reduce the healer's health. And if the healer's a cloth or leather wearer, then it's easy to see how the healer can be one-shotted by these things. And DPS, these forgotten denizens, they heal themselves, but they also do group-wide damage. Even if the tank and healer are in a different phase, they're still taking damage from the forgotten denizens, so do try to interrupt them as much as possible. Now with regard to the breath bar, there are actually tricks you can use to extend your time underwater. So let's have a little look at that more closely. Warlocks, your unending breath spell gives you 10 minutes of water breathing. Don't keep it to yourself. Remember, you can cast it on other group members. Group members don't all scream at your warlock seconds before you drown. Remember, they can only cast one at a time. Druids, if you find yourself running low on breath, you can break away from the fight, jump off the platform into the surrounding water, and then go swim form until you get your breath back. Of course, that drops your DPS or your healing, so it's a bit of a trade-off. You can even get away with using the artifact fishing pole. You can also use an underwater breathing potion, which you can either make as an alchemist or you can buy off the auction house. But no matter what method you use, you don't have an unlimited amount of time. His cast takes about 10 minutes, and when that cast time finishes, the boss will reset if you haven't got rid of all of the denizens and gone back and interrupted his cast by breaking his absorb shield. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any other ideas about how to get rid of the breath bar. I haven't tested it, but my guess is that the racial passive on an undead would also get rid of the breath bar. And that about wraps it up for this boss. Tanks try to keep the void zones in one small area, but not at the expense of your healer's mana pool. Healers don't automatically dispel whispers of power, but don't let it stack too high. DPS make sure you're interrupting forgotten denizens as much as possible, because they heal themselves and do group-wide damage, and your healer can't top up your health because you're in a different phase. Everybody have fun with this final boss, try not to drown, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a drier dungeon.
I will await you in the dark.
You dare to interfere in my affairs? What makes you think you can oppose my will? Enjoy this victory. It will be your last.
I can feel the dark presence receding. The shrine will be whole again.